This is the last Intel MacBook that Apple ever made, and it features the most powerful CPU that they ever put into a MacBook until the M series. So does an i9 MacBook Pro still hold up in 2024? So I bought this used off eBay for $500, and the reason I bought this one specifically is it was one of the best prices, and also they didn't say what the graphics card is. I'm hoping that it's the 5600M because that's the most powerful one. Oh my gosh. The touch bar. This is gross, actually. Let me wipe this down. So obviously for me, one of my favorite features on these older MacBook Pros is the touch bar. I know that everybody hates the touch bar and they think it's just the dumbest thing ever, but seriously, the touch bar, when you have the touch bar and use it for a long time and you're not a function row guy like I'm not, the only thing I use the function row for is changing the brightness and changing the volume, you really begin to miss the touch bar. And I know that everybody hates on the touch bar, whatever. I love the touch bar. I wish they would bring it back. Or at least I wish it was an option. Another one of the biggest positives with this computer is that it is in the same design with the two USB-C ports on both sides and the headphone jack, but it doesn't have that crappy keyboard that would break from the 2016s all the way up to the 2018s. This does not feature the butterfly keyboard. This features the more of a scissor switch, this is a much better keyboard. This is identical to the 2021 M1 MacBook Pro that I use, M1 Pro MacBook Pro that I use. This also has the same size screen, 16 inches. It does not feature the notch, however, but this computer, seriously, when this came out, this was like my dream computer. i9 in a MacBook Pro, dedicated graphics card, the whole 9 yards. It's just incredible that you can buy a core i9 MacBook Pro with 32 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of SSD storage for $500 with a 16-inch unbelievable, one of the best displays that you can find on the market. Plus, again, this has the touch bar, which is one of the best features Apple's ever invented, and everybody hates it, but I like it. All right, so quickly, let's see what graphics card this has. It did not say on the eBay listing, so I'm hoping it's the best one. So it has the 5500M with 8 gigabytes of VRAM, which is not that bad. I was hoping it was the 5600M, and it's not, but that's not a big deal. This is still a remarkably powerful laptop. I'm gonna run a few benchmarks on it, but this laptop, just in general, this is all the benefits of the previous generation with the slim down, the USB-C, all that type of stuff, the touch bar, but it doesn't have that keyboard failure. And at $500, this I think might be one of the best laptops you can buy. The only thing you really have to be concerned with is the long-term and longevity of the support. So macOS Sequoia supports the iMac Pro, which was released in 2017. So obviously there's no guarantee that you'll get an additional 2 years of support, but you can consider the fact that 2017 Intel-based Mac, this is 2019 Intel-based Mac, so it's suffice to say that you get at least this update and then probably 2 more updates is more than likely what you'll get. There's no guarantees on that though. But again, this is just like, for $500, this computer is crazy powerful. How does it compare to an M-based computer? Well, we just have to run some benchmarks. So you can see the Geekbench benchmark score, single core score of 1466, multi-core score of 6,943. And that's sort of the interesting thing about this laptop is the CPU is going to lag behind even the base model M1, which you can get for much cheaper than the $500 price tag of this computer. But this has a dedicated graphics card, which means that you can actually boot into Windows, which you can't do on an M series. To install Windows is super easy. You open up Boot Camp Assistant, click a couple buttons, download the Windows 10 ISO, and follow the Windows setup as normal. And you can boot into Windows and actually play video games. I've done that before several times. And the only thing you have to worry about is the heat, because these laptops, they get so hot. They're not like the M1 MacBooks or M2 or M series MacBooks at all, because they just get so overwhelmingly hot because Intel CPUs just aren't nearly as efficient. So this is what I was talking about with the sound you can hear. That's the sound of the 2019 MacBook Pro. I'm gonna move this out of here. The M1 Pro MacBook Pro isn't actually making a noise at all. That's the difference between an i9 and an M1 Pro. There are a couple things to consider. There is, of course, it's an Apple laptop, so it has some type of fatal flaw, much like the 2011s with the GPUs or any of the butterfly keyboards, basically. So what happens is the way that these suck in air, the moisture in the air will attach to a chip in here that
MacBook Pro that shows up to your store that has a short on PP-G3 hot or is just randomly died with no water or no drop or nothing like that. 99% of the time, the TPS62180 that takes PP-G3 hot at 13 volts and turns it into 2.7 volts for the SSD has sent 13 volts into your SSD, blown up, killed all the data in the computer, and you're screwed.
So this laptop is effectively a ticking time bomb. There is no guarantee on when it will break. It could take 30 years for it to break, but it will break. It's something that's inevitable, like Thanos, basically. So it's just something to consider. Obviously, of course, there's always going to be a problem like that. There are always going to be gives and takes, especially with older laptops and especially older Macs. There's always going to be problems. So should you buy this laptop in 2024? I think this laptop is perfect for the person who is just starting out on their career of something that they need a computer with, especially a Mac. So it's some type of creative career, or you're coding an iOS app or something like that. This computer right here was $500. It has 32 gigs of RAM, a dedicated graphics card with 8 gigabytes of VRAM. It also has an 8-core i9. Again, this is a 5-year-old computer, but if you look at the comparison here with the FPS in Unison Heaven benchmark, you can see that while the M1 MacBook Pro is getting around 70 to 75 frames per second, this 5-year-old computer is only getting like 20 or 25 frames per second less on Unison Heaven. Obviously, it's not going to be as powerful and nearly as efficient as an M series processor. Those things are pretty much magic. I forgot how magic they are until I started using this again, because it's like, wow, those things are spectacular. But you're going to get a lot of stuff with this, and for $500, it's pretty remarkable. The screen itself is worth like a couple $100. It's incredibly color accurate. It's very bright. It's a very good display. The speakers, of course, are going to blow you away. It's a MacBook, so they have fantastic speakers. The keyboard, again, the typing experience for me is really good. I'm used to this lower key travel type of switch. So of course, for me, I'm going to like it. But if you're more of a keyboard snob, you might not love it. But I've typed a lot on these types of keyboards, and they're very enjoyable to type on. Trackpad's incredible. There's a lot of really good things about this, especially including the touch bar, and I think that it's a good buy. It's still a good buy. It's something to be aware of, though, that your SSD at any given moment will fail at some point. What I would suggest doing is always having an SSD lying around and constantly updating a time machine. I know that sucks, and I know that it's something, it sucks that you have to be aware of that and that you have to be concerned with it, but it's just the reality of the situation. And if you want to code an iOS app, you're gonna have to buy something like this. And I highly suggest it. I think that these laptops will last a long time. Everything else is very solid. The build is incredible. All the other stuff is good. It's just going to fail at some point. So you just have to be aware of that. And if you're just gonna use this for the next couple of years, you get the support. I think it's a good buy. There are other alternatives too, though. If you wanted to just get sort of a cheaper M1 MacBook Air, you could get that for about the same price. It's going to be a lot smaller. It's not gonna have the dedicated graphics card. The performance is actually gonna be a little bit better on the CPU side. And so it's just something to consider. But if you need a bunch of RAM, if you're just doing a task that requires a bunch of RAM, this is a great computer to go with. I highly suggest it. It's a great laptop. I've enjoyed using it as much as I have. And let me know if you want to see me use this computer for a week. I would definitely be interested in that, because it edited 4K videos. I did a lot of this video completely fine. Thank you for watching. This has been Scott with Techno Eclipse. Peace out.